Hey, what's up, you guys? Ryan Sequels here. With me, as always, the ghost with the most, Ali, and welcome to Twisted Tales.
So today we're going to be going over a couple of conspiracies about cartoons.
And my conspiracy today is going to be the Purgatory conspiracy, and it's going to be based around Ed and Eddie, which fucking breaks my heart because I love that show. Please don't bring it back, Cartoon Network, because I know you're going to fuck it up like you did with Teen Titans. But
oh my god.
Yeah. This theory states that the kids who inhabit the cul-de-sac are actually dead in reality, and the lives they live in the cul-de-sac are actually taking place in Purgatory. And some of the evidence that they have for it is the theory points out to facts such as the children's green and blue tongues. The tongue does in fact turn a bluish shade when you die. The majority of the tongues on the show are blue. According to the theory, the children of the cul-de-sac each hail from different eras spanning the early 1900s to the early 2000s. This would explain why the year from the show is very hard to pinpoint. Rolf arrived first from the 1900s. This theory goes, his family moved to Peach Creek in order to establish a farm on his land. Rolf died in 1903 when his family's farm animals stampeded and trampled him. This was the supposed reason to why he only has one cow, one goat, a few pigs, and a few chickens. Not enough animals to cause a fatal stampede in the afterlife. Johnny came to the cul-de-sac not too long after Rolf's death. Having no friends, Johnny took a marker and drew a face on a piece of wood and dubbed it Plank. He died in 1922 after fighting a long battle with tuberculosis. 6 years before the discovery of penicillin. He took his friend Plank with him in the afterlife since he was the last thing that he saw in life before he died. Purgatory would also explain Plank's occasional sentiment behavior, which is most notably demonstrated in the movie. Eddie came next. He was born in New York but eventually moved to Peach Creek during the Great Depression era. Always trying to get a quick buck. He always set up scams to get money from the cul-de-sac kids in an effort to escape the poverty he spent his whole life in. Eddie didn't have a proper father figure since his real father abandoned him and his mother shortly after he was born. After one of his scams went awry, Eddie was chased by the swindling children of the cul-de-sac and ran to the lake and jumped into it. Eddie ends up drowning in that lake. He soon joined the other deceased children in the afterlife. Even though he's no longer alive, Eddie still tried to chase after the almighty dollar by continuing his swindling nature in the afterlife. Ed and Sarah were the next to arrive in the cul-de-sac. Their father had died fighting in World War II, and as a result, their mother became distant and disconnected. To cope, Sarah developed her bossy attitude, trying to fill the roles that her parents used to fill. Before their father died and their mother stopped caring. Conversely, Ed shut the world out and dabbled into the fantasy worlds of comic books and monster movies, which explored the popularity and during and after World War II in order to escape his unhappy life. They both died in a freak car accident in 1953, thus joining the past kids in the death. Naz. Oh, we all know Naz is a snack. Insert picture of Naz fine ass. Hello.
Oh my god.
You better keep that in.
I will.
Naz was born in the 1960s era to hippie parents. Described as a flower child, she was a rather flirtatious young girl who would always act that way towards the male children of the neighborhood. In the summer of '79, a serial killer escaped from a local asylum, made his way into her house, and raped and murdered her along with her entire family.
What the fuck?
Fuck. That one got deep and scary.
Oh my god.
Ed, better known as Double D, was born in the 80s when preparing to attend college. From a young age, becoming the societal norm expectation, and was raised by very strict, controlling, emotionally distant parents. They pushed him to succeed academically and to be perfectly clean and neat. He's believed to have died as a result of a gas leak causing an explosion with the Bunsen burner from his chemistry set. Kevin was born the day Double D died. He was born to a broken down house, and he also had a very abusive father who was poorly educated, and his mother had passed away when he was a year old. Because of his situation at home, Kevin would act his frustration out on the other children of the cul-de-sac, becoming a bully to cope with his repressed anger. His fascination with his bike fits right into the birth of the popular X Games in 1995. One night in the winter of 1990, his father fatally beat him in a fit of drunken rage, and he died while he was on his way to the hospital. His father was then convicted of his murder, and he was sentenced to life in prison. When Kevin entered into the afterlife, he reimagined his father as loving and that he would shower him in gifts. He still kept his bullying ways into the afterlife, however. Jimmy was the last child to enter into the cul-de-sac. He was born in the 2000s and was diagnosed with leukemia. Aww, Jimmy was an asshole, but I love him. He never associated himself with the other cul-de-sac children because his parents believed he was too frail to be around the other kids, and he remained bedridden for the remainder of his life. After fighting a difficult battle with his leukemia, Jimmy eventually succumbed to his illness, and soon the cul-de-sac purgatory was complete. And the last but not least, these dirty-ass hoes named the Cankers. The Cankers were different from the other neighborhood children. It is believed that they were actually demons that were sent to the cul-de-sac to torment the souls of the remaining children who didn't cross over to heaven. The Cankers are the only characters with normal colored tongues, which would seem to indicate that they are not dead, and that, therefore, they must be something different. Surprisingly, the Cankers are attracted to the edge for unknown reasons. However, one common guess is that they are the weakest-willed children of the cul-de-sac, or because each symbolized a certain deadly sin.
That was childhood ruining, I'd say.
Some of them were actually pretty fucking dark.
I know!
Like, okay, Kevin may be an asshole but get beaten to death by your dad. That's some wild shit. Or Naz. Yeah. A random ass serial killer came in, raped you, and murdered your whole family. Wow. Still Naz is a snag. Swipe right. That was left, but you know what I mean.
You know what? Wait. That brings us right into our SpongeBob conspiracy. One of the most famous SpongeBob SquarePants fan theories. If you don't know what the 7 deadly sins are, it's from the Bible. Basically, it's like the 7 of like the most common sins, right? It's like the 7 categories of sins. So basically, it's gonna be like Patrick, Plankton, SpongeBob, Mr. Krabs, Gary, Squidward, Sandy. So starting off is sloth. In the Bible, sloth is described as excessive laziness, and Patrick certainly fits the bill. Patrick represents sloth, which is pretty much like laziness, or like without will to like do something, or like unmotivated or whatever. He's able to lift the rock he sleeps in without trouble. He becomes a karate master in an episode of the show, but only uses the power to do things like steal ice cream. It is clear that Patrick mostly uses his incredible strength as means to indulge in his own laziness. Okay, so moving on to the next one. Plankton represents envy. We all know that Plankton is super jealous of Mr. Krabs, and because of that is always trying to steal the Krabby Patty formula. So the definition for envy is the desire to have an item or experience that someone else has. Almost all of Plankton's storylines revolve around his obsessive need to have what Mr. Krab has. He's even green, which is the color of envy. So the next is SpongeBob, and SpongeBob represents lust. Lust is usually an excessive sexual desire, but it's also defined as excessive love for others or objects. SpongeBob, with his unending optimism and friendliness, certainly harbors an excessive amount of love for his friends in Bikini Bottom. But he is so blinded by love that he is oblivious to the fact Squidward finds him annoying. SpongeBob, minus that one scene, mostly embodies the G-rated variety of lust. There's a scene that... What?
What scene?
It says SpongeBob minus that one scene mostly embodies this G-rated variety of lust.
I was just looking for the sports channel, Gary.
Oh, yeah.
Gary!
I forgot SpongeBob watches porn. Okay, I have a question.
Huh.
Whenever SpongeBob takes off his, like, pants, he doesn't have a so...
Probably, you know how, like, you can grow an arm back? He probably grows a dick.
Wow, does everyone do that? Because no one has a even Plankton, he's a guy. And he's just always naked.
Plankton wears pants.
No, oh yeah,
Green
he reaches
pants.
in now. Why did we go off on a tangent? Remember that one episode too, when they actually get like the mobile Krusty Krab, and he's like, "Bye, Mr. Krabs." No, he says, "Bye, Squidward. Bye, Mr. Krabs.
Bye, Squidward.
And Patrick's like, you said bye, Squidward twice. He's like, I like Squidward. I said,
Ooh, me too, honey. I like them tentacles, you know. So next is Mr. Krabs, which is obviously greed. We all know Mr. Krabs is money hungry, just like all of us. Greed is marketed by an excessive love for money and material items. Mr. Krabs is the perfect embodiment of this trait. He refers to customers as in monetary terms, that's my money walking out the door, etc., and runs the Krusty Krab under the philosophy, the money is always right. He even loses his arms and suffers a severe head injury in one episode in an attempt to pull a dime out of the garbage disposal. Throughout the series, Mr. Krabs has shown a shocking dedication to his money. He keeps his first dollar framed, prominently displayed in his home, and is willing to do just about anything to make a profit. What hasn't the guy done for money? He sold SpongeBob's soul for less than $1 once, and even went into grave robbing to make some extra cash. I feel you, Mr. Krabs. You taught me young.
how to stay trapping in the
How
streets.
to stay trapped. How to stay hustling. You know what I'm saying? And for the next one is Gary. Gary represents gluttony. Now, this one was a little hard for me to actually get because I didn't understand it. I was like, how does Gary represent gluttony? But really, if you think about it, every time you see Gary, it always has to do with food. Don't forget to feed Gary. Remember, there was a whole episode.
That's why fucking Gary ran away, too.
Yeah, because SpongeBob didn't feed him. So, gluttony is the continual consumption of food or drink, which is represented by Gary. The snail doesn't do too much on the show other than eat and drink. One would think, given how Gary mostly displays traits associated with a house cat, it's unfair to expect him to show restraint in regards to meals. The series hints that Gary has great intelligence. When SpongeBob visits Gary's dream, Gary is lounging in a library and harbors an impressive vocabulary. Gary also apparently pays SpongeBob's electricity bill and is an accomplished violinist. It is eventually revealed that Gary descends from royalty. Maybe his tendency towards gluttony is related to the lavish lifestyle of the very wealthy. I still would say that maybe Patrick is gluttony and like Gary could be sloth, because Gary doesn't do anything besides just like relax and eat and drink, like, you know.
How dare you disrespect Gary like that?
I'm just saying,
My
like,
boy, a whole ass philosopher.
if he's
in his
hella
dreams.
smart and all that, like, he could be sloth. All Patrick ever does is just eat.
I mean, yeah, but my boy Gary was in the Snail Games.
I'm just saying. The next one, Squidward represents wrath. Squidward tentacles is an angry man. We all know this. Okay, according to the Bible, wrath is marked by uncontrollable hatred towards the world in general. Squidward's most notable trait is his malice towards everyone else in Bikini Bottom, especially his neighbor SpongeBob. After a harmless prank, Squidward retaliates by having SpongeBob violently thrown around the Krusty Krab. Squidward takes inordinate pleasure in SpongeBob's Christmas being ruined when Santa does not arrive. These are definitely actions of someone who let their anger get the best of them. Not only does Squidward hate SpongeBob, but he hates literally everything.
He does.
Except violins and other squids.
You don't forget, Squidward part of the Illuminati.
Last but not least, Sandy is pride. I get this. Girls always reppin' Texas. Texas is a state where people love sharing about how everything is bigger and better. It makes sense that the character representing pride would be none other than Texas-bred squirrel Sandy Cheeks. Sandy is certainly proud of her Texas heritage, so much so that she once attacked SpongeBob and Patrick for mocking the Lone Star State. Sandy is also hyper-competitive and has a tendency to overestimate her abilities due to her own ego. Sandy represents the sin of pride. In the Bible, pride is marked by lack of regard for others. The first time Sandy met SpongeBob, she invites him for tea in her underwater air dome. She does not even consider how a sea creature may react to water deprivation, resulting in SpongeBob's near-death experience. Sandy, taking pride in her Texas-bred land mammal status, fails to recognize the needs of her sea brethren. She personifies pride through her obsessive, egocentric mindset. Girl's a scientist. a karate expert. She can rodeo.
She can rodeo.
She's
That
a
bitch.
jack of all trades.
She's that bitch.
I believe now, after reading all of that SpongeBob could be based around the 7 deadly sins.
The Karate Island.
No.
Real dirty.
Dirty Dan.
Who you calling, Pete?
Who you go? Was it Pinhead Larry?
This is Pinhead Larry.
Pinhead Larry and Dirty Dan.
I think I'm dirty.
I think I'm Dirty Dan.
She ripped off Patrick's head and was like, which one of y'all is dirty dad? Patrick said, I am.
Back.
Which one of you fellers is the real Dirty Dan?
I am?
Smack the shit out that. Never crossed my whole dome. Do squirrels really hibernate?
Yeah.
When it gets cold.
What
Yeah,
the
like
fuck?
bears.
But they like this big. Why do they hibernate?
Because they're mammals.
Because they're tiny.
We don't hibernate.
Humans used to hibernate. We're going to throw in a couple bonus.
So, for this conspiracy, it's just if you really look into the episodes of the Powerpuff Girls and the episode of Samurai Jack, people believe that they're in the same universe. And there's a lot of points and kind of like things you notice that you're like, whoa, what the fuck? So, here's one of them. The Powerpuff Girls' dad resembles that of Samurai Jack, and that these two are the same people but in two alternative times. One time where an evil took over the land and Jack's dad didn't defeat, and another one where Jack's dad did defeat Aku. There's also a resemblance between that there are such places in Powerpuff Girls that are also in Samurai Jack but destroyed. In the world where Jack's dad defeats Aku, whose powers are put into the sword. Later, Jack moves into another town and becomes a scientist. The chemical X is actually Aku that has been drained in life and is only sludge. His aggressive side was put into Buttercup, his secret soft side into Bubbles, and his leader skills into Blossom. But in the reality, where Jack's dad doesn't defeat Aku, Jack can't pursue his dream of science as he has to stop Aku, so he never creates the Powerpuff Girls. And that kind of bugs the shit out of me, because those are my two favorite cartoons, fun fact. And I don't care what anyone says, Bubbles will put the paws on all y'all backs.
So the next conspiracy theory is from Garfield, and it's called the hallucination theory. This one kind of gave me chills, not gonna lie. This theory is about like how John and Odie pretty much don't exist, and Garfield is actually dying of starvation and is just imagining John and Odie. There was a reference to this in a Halloween-themed comic. Garfield woke up in a condemned and abandoned house. He calls out for Odie and John, but there's no answer. Then he wills the illusion back on himself and continues his delusions about his family.
It's kind of sad.
It is pretty sad.
Honestly though,
What?
Garfield is kind of annoying. I really didn't like the cartoon.
Honestly.
I didn't like the movies. Only thing that I did like were like the superhero books when Garfield got like powers and shit. Those were pretty dope. So this last conspiracy theory from me is another one that revolves around my favorite cartoon as a child, the Powerpuff Girls, and it's called the imaginary theory. According to this theory, the girls are actually just normal children who pretend to be superheroes. The girls' father, Professor Utonium, isn't actually a scientist at all. In fact, it is believed that he is simply an ordinary pharmacist who makes medicine in his basement for a company. This is the reason as to why the girls are never allowed into the basement. Mojo Jojo, the series antagonist. Fun fact, that used to be the name people bullied me with, Mojo Jojo.
Really?
Fun facts, yes.
That's cute.
Mojo Jojo, the series antagonist, was actually the girls' half-brother. He was sexually interested in his younger siblings, and he attempted to capture them in any way he saw fit. Yes, the Powerpuff Girls. Him, the satanic figure in the main series, is believed to be the girls' homosexual uncle. The reason as to why he's seen as the devil in the main series is because his brother, Utonium, was very intolerant of homosexuals and deemed the concept as being ungodly. He also convinced his daughters to stay away from his brother, and he never mentioned his brother by his name. Instead, he always referred to his brother as him. And I don't care what anyone says, him is a fucking scary ass villain. They, like, just thinking of him, like, literally is giving me chills.
I think he's cute.
That's why I don't understand why the Powerpuff Girls aren't considered actual superheroes. Because, like, come on. They literally fought the fucking devil. Him fucking self.
True.
How are they... They beat Superman's ass off top. Come at me in the comments. The theory also states that Fuzzy Lumpkins is their neighbor. The Gangrene Gang are normally teenagers who go along with it, and that the mayor in Townsville himself is the girls' grandfather. Isn't that cute? It explains why the mayor's a fucking dumbass.
So the next theory I have is about Courage the Cowardly Dog. It makes the show seem so cute, to be honest. This Courage the Cowardly Dog theory could be real. Courage is actually a normal dog and sees the world through a dog's eyes. All the villains in the show are just normal people, but to a little dog, they seem scary. They don't actually live in the middle of nowhere, but it just seems like that to the dog because the owners are too old to take it out for walks. He only knows what's around his immediate property. Everything beyond that is nothing because he's never seen it. And he's always overly protecting Muriel. He thinks everybody's out to get her. Even if I was to be holding my dog and somebody would just walk up to me, he would think they're trying to kill me. And he would just go off and start barking, you know?
Yeah, I feel like because Muriel was like the one that'd be like, come here.
Oh, Courage.
I don't know, but I'll try to get Muriel too, you know what I'm saying? Call her
Muriel.
bad. I don't know how she's standing up with them thin ass legs, but
Muriel did not have thin legs.
yes, she did.
No, she didn't.
Oh yeah,
Beach. Oh, yeah.
she had thin ass.
I thought she had thick legs because her boots. She does have little thin ass legs. Courage is just a normal dog and just thinks people look scary because he doesn't know them.
That's one of the theories that I honestly feel like makes sense.
Yeah.
Like that, I feel like the creators were like, "Oh fuck,
And now-
someone found us out."
Yeah, and now that show just seems cute.
I'm sorry, y'all. I just got off of work. I'm hungry as fuck. There's a couple conspiracies from our favorite cartoon shows, and honestly, some of them make sense. Some of them are really far-fetched, but at the end of the day, those shows are goats, OGs, originals, and they're amazing. And it's dope that you could like look at cartoons from a different perspective than just the one that's shown.
Because when you're a kid, you don't really look into it. Like now, when I watch these cartoons that I watched when I was younger, I'm like, I catch so many jokes that just flew over my head when I was a kid.
I feel like the creators themselves have to create like something to keep the adults in tune.
Yeah,
to, like,
because if you're just watching, like, you can see like a kid show that's just like for kids, you know, and then you have these other ones that you can watch, you know,
Like
kind of all ages.
Like SpongeBob definitely has some adult jokes.
Yeah.
I guarantee.
Oh my god, like SpongeBob watching porn.
Or the one where he's like, Patrick, your genius is showing, and
Oh
Patrick puts his hands over his crotch and is
He's
like, where? We know you're talking about your penis, but
We know.
anyways, this was a little bit more of a tamer video. And we're getting back to that spooky shit next episode.
Yeah.
As always, like, comment, share, subscribe. Our wonderful producer / cameraman's info will be linked in the description.
If you like us, go see us be funny on his channel. And we'll see you guys next week with another spooky video.
Bye.